Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special Wednesday. Wednesday night. It is time for Revolutionary Change. I'm Jen Perelman. Can't hear you.
My name is Peter Hager. Last I checked, but
There
how
you
is
go.
the visual looking now? Is it
It's
looking any
better. It
Okay.
does seem better. Yes.
Okay, so I reduced it from 1080 to 720.
Yes, that
So
helped.
this is obviously an unusual night to do a live stream. It's probably not the best night as everybody is preparing for Thanksgiving.
Well, it makes more sense to do it tonight than Friday night for you.
Yes.
I mean, which I had said, okay, we could do Friday, but then you're doing back-to-back nights. So this worked out and we were able to secure great guests. So here we are on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving.
We are, and obviously it's been a whirlwind getting Mr. Tourney as a guest on our channel. We are very, very happy to have him. The story of the USS Liberty is a story that has been told basically in the shadows for a very long time. But you know, I was telling Jen earlier today, it's kind of like when we covered the synagogue in Manhattan that was calling for human sacrifice on behalf of the state of Israel. They didn't like that very much, and I'm willing to bet that with us giving full attention to the USS Liberty story this evening from an actual survivor of the attack, this is not going to be met very nicely by the Zio brigade, if you will.
With that in mind, everybody should go over and make sure you're subscribed on Rumble.
Make sure you're subscribed on Rumble. Make sure you smash that like button as it is indicated right below. Make sure that you share the stream. And for those of you wondering why my image is not as strong or what my background,
nobody's wondering that. Who's wondering?
Well, just because you don't give a shit where I am or what I'm doing.
I don't care where you are, but Peter is somewhere else. He wants to share. He wants to share.
Well, you're going to be somewhere else too very soon.
I know. I'm actually this might be, my first this will be my last month, I think, in this studio.
Since our good friend Mr. Aguilar is here, it looks like our plan to go to DC is going to commence with the cherry blossom season. So figure sometime late March, early April is going to make the most sense.
And what we would like to do is have Revolutionary Change in DC for the week and do a week in the Capitol with Peter and I going around and speaking or trying to speak with Congress people. Although I imagine for me, will be treated somewhat like somewhere between Medea and Anthony, but still, nonetheless, that is what we want to do. We want to go and take our show on the road.
It's funny you bring that up. So now I have to go grab the clip. This is one of the, without question, you
have to show this. You know that you cannot, you cannot contain yourself.
Because Medea is not just, she's an amazing human being. She's somebody we consider a friend. She has really done an exceptional job of just kind of exposing the worst of the worst people. And I'm trying to find this clip. Right now, I got to see if she's got it on her stories. I'm not
calling Larry. The secret is no wife, no kids. That's the secret.
What is the secret?
Well, he's wanting to know, did Peter get younger? What's his secret?
Oh,
it's no wife, no kids. It's that.
I would say that that's definitely part of it. Eat right, exercise, don't stress yourself out, and get enough sleep. That's basically
and a rose quartz face roller. A rose quartz.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that. I haven't had any surgery. I haven't done anything to physically alter myself like Laura Loomer.
Okay, I thought you were looking at me. I'm like, don't look at me. I've not done anything to physically alter myself.
Honestly, I look at somebody like Loomer and I can't even imagine how many times she's been under the knife.
No, the bigger problem isn't how many times she's been under the knife. To me, the bigger problem is how it's been a complete epic fail. If for someone who's had so much surgery, it's been done very poorly. That's the problem.
Well, that's the other thing that I find is so abhorrent about her is that, and it is. I know you think of like the typical Mar-a-Lago dweller that typically cuts their face up into 1,000 pieces and thinks it looks great. I still wonder if there is something to be said as to why they would do those things. I don't drink blood, Travers, at least not yet. But if that's what the Fountain of Youth requires, I mean, maybe that's why the Zion Nazis kill all the people that they kill. I can't really say for certain if that's the reason. But we know that the French, is there anything that the French won't do for youth and beauty? Estee Lauder? I mean, I'm just
Are you
saying.
asking me? The French, they have
Yeah,
a much better concept of health, wellness, and beauty than we do. I mean, infinitely, infinitely. Their French women look, for the most part, impeccable. Like it's a whole different vibe there.
I have to say, I think that there's a couple of places that we could go in terms of where we can start, but it's pretty obvious based on, because you guys know that generally I cover Candace on my solo show, but we obviously have to cover her tonight because on one hand, this is actually a very serious story regarding Candace. As you guys know, we've been doxxed already. This stuff is not a joke. Obviously, we cannot in any way, shape, or form compare ourselves to Candace in terms of our reach. She is one of the biggest podcasters in the world. She gets at least 1 million views per live stream that she does. You know, she's clearly at an upper echelon where her message is clearly impactful. She reaches people in a very profound way. Now,
for better or worse.
For better or worse. And as you've said, we're with her 100% when it comes to the issue of Israel. There's probably a few other issues sprinkled in that we might have some synergy with. But Candace is not above reproach. And there are times where constructive criticism is absolutely necessary. You've been saying for the past few months, prior to this revelation about her physical well-being, that she was biting off a little bit more than she could chew when she chose to make the French president's wife the center of her attention.
I was saying that long before Charlie Kirk was killed, and Candace was even being really on the forefront in our audience streams, right? Like, I think that she flew a little too high to the sun with that one. I thought so at the time. I'm like, okay, you've gotten a little too big for your britches now, and you're going after the wife of a foreign head of state. It just doesn't seem like it doesn't seem smart. And so when they sued her, I was like, this is real now.
Veronica, new to the show, we appreciate you being here. You look like a lovely gal, but I have to tell you, even if it is true that it is a Mr. Macron, here's the story that actually matters.
Tell that and then I'll say what I think after. Perfect.
Okay. It doesn't matter if this person is anatomically male. You know what does matter? This person is a sexual predator, and this is something that never seems to really get talked about. You know, if we're talking about the inverse of Jeffrey Epstein, that's what this story is with Macron. This guy was basically groomed by this woman when he was 14, 15 years old, and she was allegedly 40 years old. I mean, that's really effed up. And I don't want to hear nothing about, well, it's France and they just do things differently over there. That is somebody taking advantage of a child. That's pretty clear as day, if you ask me. And I would say that level of 40 or 14, that's even worse. So, yeah, I would say that that's a predator, 1,000%. But the fact that Candace decided to make it about this, to me, is where that's not to say that the truth doesn't matter in this circumstance. But the fact that it became so much more of the primary talking point, I believe, is where she went off the rails. There is no debate as to whether or not Brigitte Macron is a predator. She is. You want to go deeper than that in terms of who that person really is or how that person was born? Okay. But to me, that pales in comparison to the first point.
Okay. So my thought about it is, in general, who gives a fuck? Okay. First of all, your quote unquote victim is not anybody that would ever be a witness or testify, because he at this point has long consented with this. So even though what you're saying is completely true, and I do think that he at that age was a victim, he was groomed, all of that, and it is disgusting. But I don't see what in the world that has to do with the well-being of the general populace, what it has to do with what's in America's interests, what it has to do with fucking anything. So the fact that Candace felt the need to go after the first lady or man of France, whatever, I don't care. But the fact that she felt the need to go there was clearly just it was gratuitous. And this was her biting off a little more than she can chew and thinking, oh, I'll get clicks. It'll be really good for my viewership, whatever it was. Because let's be real, at the end of the day, there is a very grifty element to her. So that's why she did this. This isn't like something that Americans needed to know, that somehow is going to improve the lives of people for her to expose that. Who gives a shit, even if it's true? And again, I just, yeah. So that's what I think. I think that she does need to get what she has coming to her on this, because she went after somebody that's out of her weight range, quite honestly. And that's what's gonna happen here.
Yeah, and we've seen way too many instances where it's like flying too close to the sun ends up becoming a problem for far too many people. And that's not to say that, as we said, Candace does really solid work. She does. And that's why I cover her, because she is relentless, and she is relentless on behalf of Charlie, which is obviously very important. And then at the same time, you got to recognize that there is inherent danger involved with what ends up happening as a result of how you choose to deal with a situation. Let's assume that she is correct. Sometimes, even when you're right, you have to know that unless you have absolute, irrefutable evidence that this is the case, even if you're absolutely correct, even if you're 100% correct, you have to be able to prove it. And this is where we're going to show you exactly the relentless pursuit of Candace got her into this hot water, which, again, I have no doubt that there has been threats on her life. I 1000% agree it's probably real. And again, you're talking about a head of state, one of the most powerful Western nations in the world. So yes, this is not surprising at all.
Born a man and you will die a man. That's the point I'm making. So give us a sample. I'll send my doctors to take your blood. Figure it out real quick, however you want to go about this. Hey, how about just giving us some pictures again of you growing up, raising your children? That would be fine. For whatever reason, to phone, by the way, like I said, we'll get to the bottom of it, right? That is what Discovery is for. We're going to ask a lot of questions. You're probably hoping, this will go away, and at least we'll say we sued her. We'll say we went after her. She'll probably file for this to get dismissed. I'd like to make it to Discovery. I think that we owe that to the world.
Look, here's what I will say also in Candace's defense. She has not let up even an ounce. Now, apparently, she decided to step away from her show. My understanding is that she said that she's taking off the week, although that really shouldn't come as a surprise. It is Thanksgiving week, after all. I would think somebody like Candace is in a position where you're allowed to take time off. I would say that that's perfectly normal. But I'm also of the belief that, yeah, she probably has been met with legitimate death threats, and that there is probably somebody high up within the French government that either is affiliated with the Macrons and is aware of what they talk about, etc., and decided to pass the information along that, yeah, they're coming for you. So be on the lookout. Now, did the Macrons have anything to do with Charlie's demise? Again, I haven't followed this that closely to even make that leap, to even suggest that. But do I think that with the way that Candace has been relentless against this person, that they, with the amount of power that they have, and clearly they have it, that they wouldn't try to exercise some degree of authority over Candace? Yeah. I don't think that that's a stretch at all, to be honest.
I think that, yeah, if they really believe that they would have to air their stuff in their case, because they would, that's what she's talking about in Discovery. And would I put anything past the head of state to take out someone that's the threat to power? No, I don't. That doesn't seem remotely, that's very basic to me. Again, I go back to this thing with her, like, who cares? This is so clearly stems from, like, I get where we are now in that she is being sued for libel, essentially, and they'll have to now put forward, she's going to have to prove that what she said is the truth. Like, this is going to get very interesting if it gets that far. So would they consider maybe eliminating the problem? I don't know. But at the end of the day, the fact that she even pursued this in the first place speaks to her character. And this is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan, because there are so many things going on in the world that are impacting people, all kinds of people. This impacts nobody. This just gets you clicks. This is a ridiculous thing that we're even talking about. But honestly, earlier I spoke to Peter and I really didn't have the energy to like figure out different things. And I said, dealer's choice. We talk about whatever you want tonight. But like, to me, the fact that Candace gives a shit about this person's genitals is so fucking dumb. Who cares? Who does that help?
We'll finish it up.
Anyways, you guys, we are revolting against this. We're revolting against the perverts that run the world. And I want to be very clear here. I count you among them. I think you're sick. I think you're disgusting. And I am fully prepared to take on this battle on behalf of the entire world. Okay? That's what I'm going to say. On behalf of the entire world, I will see you in court.
That's a good use of our resources. That's a good use of your money. That's a good use of court time. Okay, good. So you know what? Maybe it's good that every once in a while I do one of these segments with you, because you apparently on Saturday nights are attracting a whole slew of pieces of shit. I've been watching the chat. It's like you have attracted some of those weird people, from the gripers to whoever these people are.
People are allowed to support. Listen, we don't have to agree on everything, but the idea that because we are acknowledging the fact that, hey, listen, like I said, my biggest issue with the Macrons is that they are very, very cordial with Israel. And that to me is the bigger story here. See, but for everyone, there's another. So there you go.
And I don't care. I mean, I could tell who's who, but when there's somebody in the chat calling me over woke, I don't know what they normally watch, because I am not in, like, I don't know what that's about.
Colin, pull up the tweet, please. So this is the message. This is the message that Candace put out, and I guess she's off the radar for the time being. 2 days ago, I was contacted by a high-ranking employee of the French government. After determining this person's position in proximity to the French couple, I have deemed the information they gave me to be credible enough to share publicly in the event that something happens. In short, this person claims that the Macrons have executed upon and paid for my assassination. Yes, you read that correctly. More specifically, that the green light was given to a small team in National Gendarmerie Intervention Group. I am told there is one Israeli that is on this assassination squad, and the plans were formalized. Again, this person provided its concrete proof that they are well placed within the French government apparatus. Further to this point, this person claims that Charlie Kirk's assassin trained with the French Legion 13 Brigade with multi-state involvement. Journalist Xavier Possard's life is also at risk. This is deadly serious. The head of state and France apparently want us both dead and has authorized personnel units to carry this out. I ask that every person retweet and share this. I do not know who in the American government can be trusted, since this source claims our leaders are aware. But I have more specific information, which is definitively verifiable. Should they care to reach out to me, to the brave official in France who did this because they were so moved by the evil of Charlie's public execution to risk their own life. May God bless you. Truly, let's all be revealed. I would say that whether there is some hyperbolic nature to the statement, I do believe that, as we have experienced, for those of you who've been following our channel, I wouldn't necessarily say that we have flown too close to the sun, but we have challenged power in many ways. But in one specific way, a very powerful synagogue, we decided to challenge because their message was absolutely abhorrent. And it was not from a public broadcast. It was from it was from their own channel broadcast, but someone brought it to our attention. I decided to play it. It ended up going viral, and they decided to sick the dogs on us. They actually called the police. They actually threatened us. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, either you're going to cower from it or you're going to respond. And we decided, all right, that's how you want to fight? We'll fight back. Why not? We can't do the channel that we're doing. We can't approach 100,000 subscribers and at the speed that we're doing it right now.
Don't jinx it. You're jinxing it by even talking about it.
Knock on wood. The only reason that this is happening is because we have been bold and brave to go at it the way that we have, just as our friend Anthony Aguilar and a lot of others have done the same. So that is, I would say, reason to be concerned for Candace. A lot of people have come out and they have all said pretty much universally that, yeah, this does seem like this is probably likely to be true.
Again, I ask, okay, let's say it is. Let's say it is. What effect does it have to, like, what is the outcome that people are wanting to happen from that being proven? That's what I understand. Like, I don't understand what that does. There are just too many other things to be thinking about than someone's personal stuff. And if it is something bigger and deeper, then that's where they need to go and stay out of their pants.
I also
think, it's just, honestly,
yeah.
there's just more important things.
Yeah. And I also think that when you get right down to it is, this whole story with the Macrons, I believe it goes back at least a couple of years. I don't think that this was something that was new. It just so happens that the whole odyssey between, I mean, I do believe, if for those of you that have been following Candace for a long time, if anybody in the chat wants to verify it, I believe Candace was making this a big focus of her platform prior to her break with Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire. So it's understandable that this became something that got carried over, and she wasn't going to let it go. Our connection, if you will, our desire to cover Candace had more to do strictly with Israel, and the fact that she has been relentless in trying to get to the bottom of Charlie's assassination, which we both agree that Israel was involved in some capacity.
Of course.
And so
yeah,
now what you're seeing, as we are trying to explain to everybody, is that if you're going to aim at the queen, if you're going to aim at the king, you can't miss. So if she's got the goods, and what it is about the French first couple that they feel is necessary to go after, again, I'm not 100% sure. I believe that there are worse leaders certainly in the world than Macron is, but the point is, it is completely believable that Candace has to go underground, but I believe that Candace has been underground for a while now. Part of the reason why she never showed up at Charlie's funeral and whatever you want to call that, celebration of life, I suppose.
Yeah, they haven't had a funeral. There's still been no forensics investigation report, no autopsy, none of that. None of that happened. And people are just like, that's, no, I mean, she's right on for going after those things. I think that is one of those that, we were treated to a nice theatrical spectacle of an assassination. The least we can do is get some follow through.
Time will tell. It's clearly something that has put her in a very precarious position. And obviously we don't want to see anything bad happen to Candace.
No.
Certainly want her to continue doing the work that she's doing. And
I wasn't wanting to see anything bad happen to Charlie.
No.
I didn't care either way. That was always the point. Like, I wouldn't.
But therein lies the rub, which is we're all on the chopping block because this is a class war. This is what it's always been. And even when you get to the levels that Charlie and Candace have been able to get to, it could be taken away at any moment. at any moment, because there's always somebody with more money, more power, and more influence that can
You know
just,
what we say on Yellowstone?
what's
There's
that?
always a bigger bear.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think where I would want to go from here, I told you that sometimes every once in a while, especially in the line of work that I'm in, that I happen to come across people that are either Israeli, Jewish, Zionist, or a combination of all three. One specific person who I connected with through commercial real estate happens to be a person who I'm not going to name, but let's just say that by name you wouldn't think that they were Israeli. They definitely have more of a Middle Eastern name for sure. And so I used to communicate with this person until I found out that they were Israeli, and then I stopped communicating with them. But when I went on Facebook the other day, he came up as it just goes to show you how whenever you're wondering, like, how does somebody who I was not searching for on Facebook or Instagram, how do they come up with my suggestions? Well, that's the whole purpose of what these multi-billion-dollar corporations do. One nation under blackmail. The goal is to have all of your data and to basically be watching you 24/7. And so one of the suggested people was this guy who I used to communicate with as a friend. I decided to check out his page, and he's as pro-Israel, pro-genocide as you could possibly be. The reason I bring this up is because he reposted or had made a post himself based off of this guy named Carl Ginsberg with a statement regarding why people support Israel the way that they do in spite of everything that's going on right now. And I figured this would be a good opportunity for you to dispel any of these talking points that they decide to throw, because it's all propaganda as far as I'm concerned.
It's Hasbara.
Is this it, Colin? Yeah, this is it. Okay. To the anti.
I'm sorry. I saw the opening and I couldn't. Go ahead.
To the anti-Semites of the world. You say we run the banks. You do. You say we control Hollywood. You do. You say we dominate the media. Larry Ellison, you do.
They're literally right now buying up as much, like playing whack-a-mole with our content and buying up as much as they can. So
you say we have too much influence, too much power, too much pride, but you never ask how or why. So let me tell you. We were banned from owning land, so we learned to live by using our minds. We were blocked from trade guilds and professions, so we became merchants, scholars, doctors, and lawyers. Would you care to explain how long ago this was that this type of stuff was going on?
Well, what's interesting is that this person is conflating two completely different eras. So what he's saying, or what they're saying is true. Jews were prevented from many different trades. That is true historically. And that is the reason that they got into loaning money and banking. And they weren't allowed to own things. They weren't allowed to have businesses. Their businesses would be destroyed. And it's also true that there were quotas on the amount of Jewish people they could get into medical schools and law schools. That's absolutely true. The reason that we have DO schools, why there's DO programs, that started as a Jewish response to being quoted in MD programs in medical schools. So, I mean, what he's saying is true, but then you're saying, okay, so we're blocked from this, so that's why we became doctors and lawyers. Well, no, because you were blocked from that too. So it's kind of an interesting conflation of time periods. So what he's saying is true, but that's not a justification.
From many centuries ago, many centuries ago. Our commitment to education didn't stem from privilege. It came from necessity, from exclusion, from survival. When we were barred from universities, we built our own yeshivot. Is that how you say it?
Yeshiva?
I guess.
Well, okay. So hold on. I'm so blind.
You're too busy watching the chat.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not. I have to lean in so close to see that. And my screen is far away. Yeshivot. So it's when you say things in plural, it's like an OT at the end is plural. So it's yeshivas instead of saying the yeshivas, like the different university, you would say yeshivot.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. The Torah became our moral anchor. The Talmud, our intellectual training ground. Okay, so the Talmud is, I mean, it's like the Devil's Handbook. I mean, it's pretty.
Yeah.
So right there, they're admitting, yeah, we love the Talmud. Kind of like that meme, you know, that guy. When we were mocked for being bookish, we made knowledge our defense. The insult became our armor. Okay. Oh, in medieval Europe, so about, I don't know, 1,200 years ago, give or take, Christians were forbidden by the church to lend money with interest, but kings still needed loans, and someone had to do the collecting. So they turned to the Jews, already despised, already othered. We became money lenders, not by ambition, but by force. Then we were hated for it. Well, let's see.
That is true. Like there is historical fact there.
Sure, I agree.
But in the obviously, as we have progressed to the modern era, we are so far past that now. So for somebody to be claiming this as some sort of like reasoning or justification for usury or for being a piece of shit, it just, we're so far past that at this point.
I agree. And the other component that you also have to remember here is that there is a difference between if you are lending with interest. So for example, today, if you have a credit card, a perfect example of usury that should not exist is if you are collecting interest on a credit card. Why do we have interest loans on credit cards? Now, granted, not everybody can pay on time. There are reasons for that. Why is it 20% interest on credit cards instead of something like 2%, which I think most people would find very reasonable? That's an example of usury that is completely insane. And in the banking system, yeah, whether you like it or not, and you can say that it isn't necessarily a Jewish practice, even if they dominate the industry, there is no denying what they turned banks into. So this whole denial of what they ultimately allowed it to become or wanted it to become, it's like, why take 2% when I can take 5, I can take 11, I can take 50? This is, I have always said, of the worst.
Okay, but do you see where the problem is? The problem what's the problem?
Well, you know what? Maybe you need to explain it so that I'm.
The problem is capitalism. Okay, see, that's the problem. It's a systemic problem. The fact that Jews participated in it at the level at which they did and continue to do so, that's just, someone taking advantage of something that's already a problem. But I don't think that this isn't going to prove any point for this person here.
Well, I would definitely say that capitalism capitalizes on capital cannibalistically, because there is something to be said for having absolutely no regulation whatsoever, zero.
Mm-hmm.
That you could just do whatever you want if you want to get it. This would be an example. Well, okay. So let's assume that it's greed, EC, if that's your name. Here's what I would tell you. Capitalism cannot survive and will not survive and isn't surviving without a balanced mechanism, which for the general population, it is socialism. So why do I mention that? Of all the things that Wasserman Schultz...
And there it is.
Yeah. Of all the things that Wasserman Schultz has done as the congressional representative in the area that you're in right now, there are a lot of places that we could go, especially in terms of foreign policy. But in terms of domestic policy, the fact that that person has been in bed politically with payday lenders for decades. I mean, you want to talk about the ultimate form of vulture capitalism. There is nothing worse, because the people who get payday loans, first of all, they're marketed to people that have nothing anyway. So they basically want to turn them into slaves. And then the people who get them, they cannot get out of them. It's basically, you are a wage slave for life. And that is an example of usury that to me is criminal, of the worst kind. So to defend it the way that he's explaining it is fucking crazy. In America, we were shut out of the respectable jobs, so we went west and helped invent Hollywood, not to brainwash, but to dream, to tell stories, to make magic. I'm not even going to comment on that one. When Ivy League schools capped Jewish admissions, we founded Brandeis. Boy, did you ever. When hospitals wouldn't hire Jewish doctors, we built Mount Sinai and Cedars. When law firms closed their doors, we opened Skaden and Watchtel. We weren't trying to dominate. We were just trying to live. Oh,
but will you hide me?
Will you? We were expelled from Spain, massacred in Poland, hanged in Iran. Really? Hanged in Iran? That's new. Lynched in the Ukraine. It's Ukraine, not the Ukraine. Bombed in Germany, and yet we survived. We learned, we remembered. In 1948, the world watched as nearly 1 million Jews were expelled or fled from Arab lands.
And why? And why? In conjunction, in coordination, and at the behest of the Zio entity, working in conjunction with the Zio state, because that's what they wanted to happen so that they could boost their numbers and have a majority Jewish population. They were willing to accept the brown Jews that they deem Mizrahi Jews, which is just a phrase for you're not us, you're not Ashkenazi.
And they can't handle that truth.
No.
Their homes, businesses, and synagogues were seized and or burned. There were no refugee camps, no UN agencies, no worldwide calls for justice, no right of return for the Jews of Baghdad, Aleppo, or Tripoli. You say, you say we are tribal, but we tried to integrate. We changed our names, straightened our curls, abandoned our faith. But every time we tried to disappear, you reminded us who we were. So we turned inward. We leaned on each other. We built synagogues when your houses of worship were closed to us.
God, this is so maudlin. And you know I hate maudlin. This is like such victimy crap. Like seriously, this really does remind me of Cheryl with, will you hide me?
We built synagogues when your houses of worship were close to us. We built hospitals and golf courses. We built golf courses, Jen, when we weren't welcomed in yours. We built advocacy groups to defend ourselves when no one else would. And when no country would have us, we built our own. We were attacked by 7 Arab countries seeking to destroy us on day one, but somehow we survived. I think they are forgetting a couple of very important details about that particular statement now, aren't they?
Yes. And I, unfortunately, am not very well versed in the events leading up to what happened in 67, but I know that it was prompted, provoked, and sought out by the Zio state. So whatever did happen, and we're going to get a lot more into that tonight with our guest, but, you know, Israel was seeking to expand its borders. So it's the same kind of things we do, like what we're doing right now with Venezuela, case in point. We sit there and we do little things and we pick and we pick and we pick, and we want to create a response so that then we can justify a full-on war. That's what I envision in 67. There was crap going on like that, and Israel was poking and poking and poking, got a response, and then used that as the to manufacture the consent for what they did to expand their borders.
Then came October 7th, 2023, the worst day in the history of mankind. You say you hate Israel because of its policies, because of a dispute over land. Yeah, that's what it is. Because of borders. But on October 7th, 2023, Hamas didn't target soldiers. They didn't storm checkpoints or military outposts. They savagely raped women and they beheaded babies.
Oh, wait, it's okay.
This was posted about 5 days ago.
Oh my God.
They burned entire families alive. Actually, what they're doing, Jen, is they're just telling on themselves. You see, Israel isn't really Israel, it's Palestine. And they just switch the names up to kind of hide themselves. I mean, hiding and everything.
This is just the fact that somebody would still use those debunked stories, the narrative of October 7th, this late in the game, that then destroys any credibility of anything else that this person is saying. Because you are not a serious person if this is what you're putting out. This is not serious. This is just, you are appealing to your small little echo chamber of people that are also, I guess, in the Cheryl echo chamber, those people that truly believe they're victims and they feel fearful.
Yes, but you have also stated that especially in affluent Jewish communities, they are brought up with this victim mindset. Like you're always the victim. It's always, everyone is out to get you. Everyone always hates you. You know, it's one thing if you're brought up in a poor Black community and you are told that everyone hates you, don't trust the cops. You're talking about it from a perspective of people, not because they're Black, but because they have nothing. They have no money. They have no infrastructure. Trying to get out of that in a capitalist system is damn near impossible for most people. Then you add in various elements that make it even more difficult. When you are part of the elite, privileged Zio class, and you talk like this, you garner zero sympathy.
No.
You, in fact, get to a point where when your state is inevitably disintegrated, and that is where it's heading, no one is going to shed a tear. You will all shed tears for yourselves with your money in Argentina, in Cyprus. It's not going to be Thailand anymore because they're kicking you out. It is what it is. This is it, but this is a prime example of why people hate Jews. This is it. This fuckhead posting this is a prime example of why that is the case. We'll continue. They slaughtered civilians in their homes. Again, a lie. Their bomb shelters and slaughtered young people at a music festival. It was the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. And as our dead lay unburied, the world didn't mourn with us. It rallied against us.
That's just factually, that's just untrue.
This was posted by an extremely affluent Zionist Jew 5 days ago.
Can we get a picture of this tool?
No, let's not do that.
I'd like to see who I'm dealing with. Like, I just like to I like to put a face with the name. That's all.
College students held "Glory to the Martyrs" signs. Jen, what have you always said about martyrs?
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of martyrs. You know what I'm saying?
One person's terrorist.
Oh, that's what I say about terrorists.
Yes,
they're
calling it martyrdom. They're calling it martyrdom, but for one person.
Yes, no, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Yep. Excuse me. Protesters waved swastikas in Sydney. Yeah, paid protesters who are doing it purposefully to boast the Zionist cause.
Absolutely.
Gas the Jews was graffitied in Berlin. You mean like after Zoran won and they graffitied a swastika and it was proven that it was one of the congregational members of that synagogue who did it? Were graffitied in Berlin. Jewish students were barricaded inside libraries in New York. That is a lie. They were not barricaded inside.
Again, still, I have not heard or seen first-person witness testimony that somebody felt threatened, scared, or was unable to function in their normal capacity based on the pro-Palestinian protests. I have not seen one. We constantly have people like this saying that there were all these fearful Jewish students. But I've actually seen Jewish students at Columbia saying the exact opposite. So I don't believe this. Yeah. And what did you?
And so MIT students were blocked from class. At Harvard, kids were told to remove their Stars of David for safety. I mean, like I said, I have no sympathy. All while our hostages were still bleeding in tunnels. The dehumanization of the Palestinian people oozes out of this person's writing. So no, this isn't about our borders. You hated us before 1948. I wonder why. Before the state of Israel existed, before a single border was drawn, what you hate is that the Jew now has power, a flag, a standing army, a government, a home. You preferred us weak, wandering, apologizing, dependent on your pity or permission to live.
But you still are, though. You're completely dependent on our permission to live because you couldn't exist without American empire.
Oh, you ain't kidding. Israel is not a gift. It is a necessity. We didn't colonize the land. We rightfully returned to it. Jews have lived in Jerusalem, Hebron, Sifed, and Tiberias for over 3,000 years. Hence why they promised us 3,000 years ago. We prayed toward Zion for centuries. Yeah, you sure did. We spoke Hebrew while the world told us to forget.
No, you did not.
This is this might, I tell you, the longer this goes, the better it gets. We made the desert bloom. No,
wait, can I address the Hebrew thing first?
Yes, please.
So Hebrew, modern Hebrew, the language that Israel speaks, that is not Hebrew from the written word that we have in scriptures. Modern Hebrew was created for the reason of what he's saying. You know, now they have a flag and an army and a language, all of that. Exactly. That's why they created it. Modern Hebrew was created by the Zionist state when they created the Zionist state. That's not the same language. Actually, what the original Jews in the area spoke was Arabic. Well, Aramaic and Arabic, but the Palestinian Jews who were the Jews from there, they didn't speak Hebrew. Nobody spoke Hebrew until it was resurrected and created in the 40s.
Excellent point, partner. Maybe the worst part of their entire statement. We made the desert bloom. No, you made the desert bleed. That's what you did.
I'm so disgusted. I participated in that. I planted trees to help make the desert bloom from the savage Arabs who didn't know how to cultivate their land. Seriously?
We drained swamps, planted forests, revived a lost language. We welcomed Holocaust survivors. God, they really are depraved people. Russian refuseniks and Ethiopian Jews airlifted from famine.
My mother-in-law participated in that action, airlifting the Ethiopian Jews when she was with this big international group with JCC of Americas and all this stuff, right? They brought you told me today you wanted me to address these things.
Please.
Okay. So the Ethiopian Jews, they were airlifted, and yes, they were brought in to then be treated as second-class citizens in an apartheid state, but simply because it added to the Jewish majority for the same reason that the Zios had the Arab neighbor states expel the Jews to help get their numbers. That's the same reason that they hijacked the Ethiopian Jews, and they have been living there as second-class citizens ever since.
We built a nation while surrounded by enemies. You wonder why? Embargoed by the world and haunted by the ashes of Auschwitz. Israel was not built because of the Holocaust. No, it was allowed to be built because of the Holocaust. It was built because of 2,000 years of exile, genocide, and betrayal. And it is the only insurance policy against the next one. Never again is not just a slogan. It is the Iron Dome. It is the F-35. It's the determined 18-year-old girl in olive green standing guard so toddlers in Sderot can sleep. Why the double standard? When Russia invaded Ukraine, the world cried out. Blue and yellow flags adorned every profile. You mean every shit-lib's profile?
Yeah, we didn't like that either, and we thought that was ridiculous too. The difference is, this is somebody who's being completely unserious, right? The difference is that even if I were to say that Russia just randomly invaded Ukraine, which I don't believe that that's what happened, but anywho, that's one sovereign nation invading another sovereign nation. That's between those two sovereign nations. That's sort of a thing. If you want to take the team, pick a team. When Israel creates a genocide in Gaza, that's not an invasion of a sovereign nation. That's an oppressor invading their oppressed people that have no means of defending themselves. It's different.
Weapons, refugee aid, solidarity, all rights offered. But when Hamas burned Israeli children alive, again, lies. We were told to de-escalate. When we defend our cities, we are called monsters. You are monsters. When we bury our dead, you protest our grief. Why? Peace is possible? We've tried. You say Jews are foreigners in the Middle East. No. Zionists are
No,
foreigners.
Ashkenazis are. Ashkenazis are foreigners in West Asia. Okay.
But the
You pay
UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan disagree. The Abraham Accords, that could be a whole show on.
So, in other words, our American empire bitches, kingdoms, excuse me, in West Asia are on our team because we pay them to be, right? That's what you mean. So they agree with us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Israel sends aid to Syrian earthquake victims. Oh, you mean the money that we give them then gets sent to the earthquake victims?
You mean how Israel's basically trying to expand its borders into Syria and so help facilitate the coup that just we facilitated there so that now we could be breaking bread with the Al-Qaeda terrorist that was on our our international most wanted list more so than bin Laden? That's Syria? You're helping
just remember, we're going to bring democracy to Venezuela very soon as well.
Oh yeah, that's
Israel sends aid to Syria. The earthquake. Arab doctors and lawmakers serve in the Israeli Knesset. We seek coexistence. No, you just see supermajority. You chant from the river to the sea. We choose life. You chant death. No, we choose Palestinian liberation. You choose Zionist genocidal hell.
The amount of videos that I have seen of Israelis over the years, and not just in the past 2 years, like always, jumping and chanting death to Arabs, literally death to Arabs, is overwhelming. I have seen that so many different times in my life that this is just so absurd. And yet I have never seen, the only time I saw anybody chanting death was that, what's his name? Or what's that group? Death to the IDF, which that I appreciate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
but that's the only time I ever saw anybody on the side of, justice for Palestine chanting anything about death.
You're right. So yes, Israel is strong now because a powerless Jew is a dead Jew. And history taught us no king, no pope, no president will save us. Except for the Donald. We don't want to dominate. We just want to live. Won't you let us live freely? Proudly, unapologetically. You don't have to like us. You don't have to agree with us, but never again will you decide whether we're allowed to exist. I'm Yisrael Chai.
Au contraire. The whole world is making its decision about whether or not you choose to exist. And here's the spoiler. You don't. And it's going away. The world has had it. And very soon, when we're no longer in charge of the world and we are no longer king shit a fuck mountain, and our dollar isn't the currency of the entire globe, the Zio state will cease to exist. It will not be able to exist without American empire. So you can still do your Am Yisrael Chai all you want to. You just keep going.
So shall it be. One of the reasons that we do what we do is because there are people that have been fighting this fight before Jen and I were even alive. And knowing how long it takes to come to terms with that reality can be gut-wrenching, especially for those who not only fought for the red, white, and blue, but thought what they were fighting for was just. And it turns out that it wasn't. And that awakening that happens for so many people today has been happening day in and day out for the past 58 going on 59 years for somebody that we both consider a hero, somebody who probably has been threatened more times than one can even count. But if you can survive the USS Liberty and the greatest maritime attack in our nation's history that was not met with any type of retaliation.
Still not. We've been being gaslit about this forever. Only up until recently, I would say only up until the past couple of years, have I even heard people acknowledging that this is a thing that's a fact.
Colin, I need that one pager, please. I want to do a proper introduction. I want to really show how important this is to us.
I'm humanity first, honey. Humanity first. I don't care about your imaginary lines.
Phil Tourney is a decorated U.S. Navy veteran. His new book, Stay Afloat, is about his experience on the USS Liberty and the cover-up that has transpired since 1967. He is a recipient of the Bronze Star 5 and Purple Heart. Stop, Colin, too fast. Little heights, right there, stop. Prior to Liberty, he did 2 tours on the USS Mauna Kea in waters off Vietnam. For actions during the Liberty attack, he received a Bronze Star with V device plus a Purple Heart. He's been president or multiple term president of the USS Liberty Veterans Association. That day changed him forever, but it didn't define his end. It became his beginning. Today, Phil shares his story to remind others, no matter how rough the seas, you can stay afloat if you hold to courage, faith, and truth. It is our pleasure to welcome Phil Tourney to Revolutionary Change.
Well, quite an introduction. Thank you both, and I really appreciate it so much. It's nice to see people that love and care about this beautiful, beautiful country we have.
Well, I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. But it's an honor to be here. It really is. And I'm just a regular guy, but when that happened to us and our country left us alone when they knew we were under attack, for 2 solid hours, they left us alone and recalled the jet aircraft. McNamara and LBJ recalled the aircraft not once but twice, leaving us alone for the IDF to slaughter American citizens on the high seas, and then they got by with it. Our government covered it up, and it's been that way ever since.
Mr. Tourney, I have a theory, and I would love to hear your thoughts. I have always believed, based on the timing of this incident, which was in the direct middle of the Six-Day War, that the intention was to create another Gulf of Tonkin incident and basically create another regional war, this case in the Middle East. And it didn't quite go according to plan. Your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, it didn't go to plan for the one reason, Jesus Christ. You know, he was the only one to come help us that day. But it went on and on and on, just over and over. Napalm, rockets, cannons, machine guns, a torpedo that tore a 40 by 40 foot hole in the ship, blowing to bits 25 of my brothers. 9 killed were on the deck, 34 in total, and 174 wounded in a 2-hour bloodbath. We lowered over our life rafts. We only had 3 left. They shot the rest of them up or burned them up with the napalm they dropped on us. 3 left. We put them in the water to put our most seriously wounded in them, and they shot them out of the water and took one aboard their boat in Haifa somewhere as a trophy of the kill.
What was your experience like that day? How it started? And I don't think too many people truly understand the whole origin of the USS Liberty and why it was in the Mediterranean Sea in the first place. Can you just explain briefly what that whole experience was like, why you were there in the first place?
Yes, we were on our way to Africa, and we ended up in Abidjan, Africa. That's our usual steaming up and down the west coast of Africa. About 4 or 5 knots, up and down. You would stop at certain ports, but this time was different. It's just as soon as we got to our port in Abidjan, we got orders to go to the Mediterranean, or actually it was Spain first, to pick up more men, linguists. And they got everybody aboard the ship as fast as they can. And I had been aboard that ship almost 2.5 years. I've never seen nothing like this happen before. I mean, it was unheard of. And then we went to Malta, picked up 3 linguists, and then 2 civilians who were linguists. By the way, 3 of those people were blown to bits by the torpedo explosion. And then we find out we're going into the 6-day war. The captain asked for a destroyer escort. So did Lieutenant Commander David Lewis. He asked for a destroyer escort. We're going into a war zone and we're all alone. Our government says, don't worry about it. You have American flag. You have the markings on the ship. USS Liberty is clearly about it, painted on your stern. And that flag up there is your shield.
That's what it was supposed to be. But as it turns out, on the afternoon of June 8th, 1967, approximately 2:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there was, or no, I believe it was, whatever time zone that would be, Tel Aviv time, there was an attack on your ship, and it appeared initially to have been a source of confusion. That is what the Israelis claimed, that they thought you were an Egyptian ship, I believe was the story that they gave. But it became pretty evident pretty quickly that there were obvious markings on the USS Liberty that this is supposed to be a friendly ship. And yet, not only did that not stop them, it seemed to incite them even worse. That's what I observed just by reading it, but you lived it. So could you take us through the whole process of trying to send distress signals to those that were attacking you? And not only was it being ignored, but it almost seemed to get them even more riled up to try to sink the ship.
Yes, I will. Actually, we got there on the 7th of June. It was a bright, beautiful, sunny day. The wind was blowing about 12 knots going across the deck to keep a flag out furled. We had a brand new American flag there. Israeli aircraft reconned our ship over and over and over again, filming our ship. They dipped their wings. We'd wave at them. Everything was friendly. There was Israeli, our best friends in the whole wide world, we thought. And we had no problem. They did the same thing on the 8th of June, the day of the attack, over and over again, flying boxcar, DC-3 and smaller propeller planes, all marked with the Star of David. And at 2 o'clock, the attack started with unmarked jet aircraft. The Israeli Mystere and Mirage jets that pummeled us for 25 minutes solid with napalm, rockets, cannons, machine guns, everything they had. They knocked out all of our antenna. We couldn't send out a signal, but one guy, Terry Haldebardier, he has passed on now, received a Silver Star for hooking up a long wire to an antenna he had taken offline because it wasn't tuning. That's the only one they didn't hit. All those rockets and everything were going to those tuners. They were heat-seeking missiles. They knocked everything out within 3 seconds. We had no incommunicado, except we got that one message out. Rockstar, under attack by unknown jet aircraft. Rockstar, need help. Captain Tully off the USS Saratoga immediately launched the aircraft. McNamara got online and says, do not help Liberty. Go back to base. And he did. He went back to base. Then the USS America and the USS Saratoga, the captain on the America was Captain Engen and Captain Tully. They relaunched aircraft to come to our aid because they could hear us screaming for help and the rockets and everything hitting. And Johnson got on the phone and said, turn those GD aircraft around. I could care less about a few dead sailors. I will not embarrass my ally Israel.
Can I just share one particular thought that I have always had when it comes to warfare. I would never in a million years take orders from somebody who did not serve themselves. I always feel that the commanders in chiefs throughout our history that I've always held in the highest regard, particularly Teddy Roosevelt and JFK, were men that served our country. And I always felt that their concern for the well-being of the American soldier was different in comparison to somebody like LBJ who did not serve. And that blatant disregard, I don't think can be ignored. We see it today. It really gets to me, like it really does. My attitude has always been, don't ask somebody to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. And it doesn't surprise me that you experienced what you did. And it hurts. It hurts me. And, I come from a family of veterans, and it just really, I can't imagine carrying the bearing of that weight for almost 60 years. And going back in time to relive it, which I'm sure you have to do all the time. It was a absolute slaughter. I believe it was 34 of your fellow veterans were killed that day. About 175 were seriously injured. And it seemed that, because granted, this is 1967, they were able to sweep this under the rug because not everybody had a cell phone and could capture all of this on camera. But I'm guessing that as bad as that day was, the aftermath ended up being even worse when you tried to get justice for what happened.
Oh boy. Yeah, that brings back a lot of memories. Once we finally got help, 17 hours after the attack, they took all the wounded off. And there's a lot of seriously wounded. And that night, we were out there all alone, and Doc Kiefer was operating on people all night. He was shot in the stomach and both knees, and he was still going for it. I helped him in one operation from this guy by the name of Gary Blanchard. He got shot up bad, and he said, "Take my socks off, would you please?" And I rubbed his feet trying to get him some circulation. Went over to his side. He says, "You think I'm make it?" I said, "No, man, I don't think you are." Doc Kiefer cut him open, and he had passed away. But that's how it was all night. And when they got everybody off the next day, the most seriously wounded, I know I went backwards a little bit, but I'm sorry, but with this story. But once they got all the people off, we were out of sea for about 2 days, and here comes Admiral Isaac Kidd with his JAG officer, Captain Ward Boston. And they got us in small groups, and we told them everything we could. I was in sick bay with probably 2, 3, 4 other guys. I can't remember. It's been almost 60 years, but at least that many. And he came in and took his stars off, and he threw them on the table. It was a stainless steel table, and it rang like a bell. He says, I want you guys to understand something. I'm just like your dad. I want you to tell me everything that happened. And we did. And I asked him, well, how come help never came to us? We were out there by ourselves. They shoot up our life rafts. I mean, they do everything to us, and help never comes to us. And then he put his stars back on. And he says, now I'm an admiral again. I'm going to tell every one of you SOBs, if you ever breathe a word about this to anybody, including your parents and anybody else, especially the media, I'll make sure you end up in prison or worse. And he says, you know what worse means? I said, yes, sir, I do. So that's what they did to us. And it's been going on ever since. We got into port, into Malta. They made the ship brand new. They painted it, patched all the holes. And while we were there, the CTs were trapped down below, had been in dirty salt water, banged around for 7 days. All you could smell is death. And it sticks with me right now. It was that bad, and they had to put pieces back together to get him out of there.
Let me ask you, this is because it's bad enough to go through what you go through, and then you're threatened if you seek any sort of recourse or justice. How long did it take before people started speaking up to some extent? Because obviously we know about this. So obviously quiet was not kept for very long. And then what happened when it started to come out as to what happened?
That went about 17, 18 years after the attack. And there was an organization called the U.S.S. Liberty Veterans Organization. You can go there. Look at our website and everything. Just go to libertyveterans.org. But we got together and we said, we were all pissed off. And we decided, hey, we're going to try to do something about it. But we've written Congress, what about the war crimes? We filed a war crimes report. And they threw it in the toilet. They didn't even want to look at it. I mean, that's how bad it is. I was in the State Department one time when there was a symposium on the USS Liberty by Mark Susser. He was the coordinator there at that time. There was 3 Israeli Jews there and one man by the name of James Bamford, a good friend of mine, author, look him up. He's a great guy. And everything was against, him. But I and another survivor were in the audience, and Bamford read this letter from the Ward Boston that said everything in the Board of Inquiry was a lie. Admiral Kidd and I both knew you were set up to sink by Israel, but by the grace of God, you lived. And, he said it was all a set up deal. They all lied. And nothing's ever come of it. Nothing, because of our bought and paid Zionist owned Israeli agents. I call them all that. I mean, all the money they take from AIPAC. Are you kidding me? This just didn't start yesterday, man. It started a long time ago. And if we don't stand up for each other as Americans to take our country back, we're not going to have a country like we used to know.
There is no question that you were not supposed to survive that day. That ship was supposed to go down, and they were supposed to use it, as I mentioned, as a Gulf and Tonkin Part 2, and it didn't happen. And to you and your brothers in arms that are still alive, we're doing everything we can with our platform to bring justice for you, for them, and to ultimately do what needed to be done back in 1967. The disintegration of this genocidal state and our attachment to it. And for better or worse, as Jen likes to say, we are Israel, they are us, at least from the State Department's perspective. From the perspective of the American people, this is the unifying issue of our time. And I hope you live long enough to see us do it, because it's very gut-wrenching to think that we believe in what we do, especially having served, in justice. It's cliche, truth, justice, and the American way. But at the same time, we know that this is not a just world. And the acts against humanity that this genocidal state has been committing not just in the last 2 years, but what I believe has been not just our proxy, but effectively the red herring, if you will, in terms of what the entire State Department foreign policy has been since the Vietnam War. It's basically whatever this nation wants, and we have lost hundreds of thousands of our citizens, and we have killed millions of others on behalf of their ideology. And I want to see it come to an end. Jen and I have taken this platform and have grown it, and we've made our share of enemies by doing that. After tonight, we're going to have a lot more enemies in much higher places. We are going to play this everywhere. Everyone is going to know about it. And that leads me to our next discussion, which is, please share with us the book that you've written that is coming out soon.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, it's called Stay Afloat, as you know, and it's it's coming out. Well, I'll have it probably all done by January. If people want to go there to my website, Phil Tourney podcast.com, philtourneypodcast.com, and we have a bunch of stuff in there. And I'm doing this for this social media is so good. I mean, where people like us can talk and discuss and but this is for the USS Liberty, and me in particular. This kind of stuff is the best thing that's ever happened, because we've always been stifled, but now we're not. And that's what I do in my podcast. I've been interviewing survivors and family members, children of the survivors, and because it's torn their lives apart. Because it's broken a lot of families and things like that, and that's what I want people to hear is the real heart of what this terrible treasonous act on an American ship from our government supporting it, signing off on it. I mean, it's just the more I think about it a lot. It's just what they did. They did it to all of America. They just didn't do it to us. I mean, we were nothing to them, and we're still nothing. But we are human beings, and what they've done in Gaza, it's been something I think. I mean, it's too horrific to even think about it anymore. What I've seen, I'm sure you guys have all seen what I've seen, but it's horrific, and it's one of the most terrible things I've ever seen in my life. But I must say this, with what they've done in Gaza, people are starting to talk about the USS Liberty. A lot of people. You got Candace Owens, Jake Shields, Myron Gaines, Nick Fuentes, Jocko Willnick, Jay Slade, Mike Fitzpatrick, Jimmy Dore, Scott Ritter, Deep Shallow Dive. And it's all about the USS Liberty. It's all over anymore. So what you guys are doing, and we can coordinate, do anything we got to do, but this story is important because, listen, man, we're alive and we want to get in front of Congress. The survivors of the people that were abused and tortured on Epstein Island, they are survivors, but we're survivors too of one of the biggest cover-ups the history will ever record. The USS Liberty. If our ship goes down, we're going to World War III. That was the whole plan, but we survived.
I just and here's maybe something like a little bit more existential to this, but this all happened. You were 19, correct?
Yeah, I was 20.
20. Okay. So how did this shape you when you came back in terms of politics? Like, because, what was the difference in your mindset from when you first went into the Navy versus like what happened when you came back in terms of your perception of the military and our country?
That's a good question. Yeah, when I came back, I felt betrayed, and I still feel betrayed. But I didn't even think about it. And for 18 years after the fact, until we got together, I forgot what day it was when it happened. But no, I mean, yeah, it affected my life. Hell, I was, drinking too much, and just not productive. But when I got involved with the USS Liberty, it became my life, and I'm productive now, and it's one of the things that makes me the happiest, because those guys were young men that got killed that day, slaughtered, blown to bits, all of them. They don't have a voice, but I do, and I am their voice. I will speak for them till my dying day. Give me a microphone if I'm in the hospital dying. But I owe those men. They gave their lives. They never got to have a family. Nothing. Not right.
Not only is it not right, but the good news is, Phil, you are part of the World War II generation, and it is incumbent upon us, because we are younger, to make sure that justice is done, however long it takes. And for any of your surviving brothers in arms, just know that we will not let this die. There will be justice for this. Above all else, there will be justice for what has been done to the rest of the world on behalf of our State Department that does not adhere to the will of the people in the United States, to what they've done to other countries around the world, to what they did on that fateful day in 1967, and especially to you and to everyone else that is fighting this fight. We have been doxxed, we have been labeled, all kinds of things. And so when I saw the Zios declare that you are the biggest anti-Semite in the world, I'm thinking, well, if Mr. Tourney is the guy that I think he is, he's probably very happy when he saw that, because clearly he's getting to them. Your thoughts on their never-ending pursuit of disparaging and smearing a veteran and a war hero. As far as I'm concerned, the Zios are going to destroy themselves, and they're doing it in rapid speed. So let them do it. But would love to hear your thoughts on their disparaging your, or attempting, I should say, to disparage your reputation. But in reality, I think by them doing that, they've only drawn more attention to what you've been trying to draw attention to for so long.
Oh, I agree 100%. Sure, I was on their most wanted list. They had me up there, drunk, a liar, a convict, a sex offender, everything you could think about. I'm getting a little overboard there, but you get my content. It wasn't very nice, but I thought to myself exactly like you said, Peter. It comes off my back. It makes me stronger. And it makes me a lot stronger, because, hey man, the truth is the truth, and they can't stand the truth. They curse every day that I'm probably alive and the other survivors, and we're whittling down. We're all old. I'll be 79 here in a few days, and but I'm in good shape. I got a good mind, I think, and a good voice till I can't use it anymore. For the gallant crew of the USS Liberty, and it's just it's a great honor to be part of that. I'm the president until June, and then somebody else will take over. But yeah, it's been a good ride, and a long ride. I'll tell you a quick story. When we were in Grafton, Wisconsin, I did a speech at the old Spotlight newspaper. They had a conference in Washington, D.C., and two industrialists out of Wisconsin, Grafton, Wisconsin. They read the article, and they were going to name a library, the Grove Brothers, the Grove Library. And after they read that article, because they'd already told me when I met them, they became dear friends, Ben and Ted, about Zog, and but they knew a lot more than I did about it. But they teased me. But they donated that library to us, the U.S.S. Liberty Memorial Library. The Jewish groups out of Milwaukee and surrounding areas had a fit and said that the name of that is anti-Semitic. U.S.S. Liberty Memorial Library is anti-Semitic. When we dedicated it, we had to have police on the rooftops, dogs, bomb-sniffing dogs, and snipers on the rooftops, not to shoot us because we were getting that many threats. And the police were very, very good. They took care of us and everything like that. But can you imagine, man? It's a library celebrating the USS Liberty, the gallant crew of the USS Liberty, and they still hate it. So that's what we go through, and I've been going through it a lot, believe me. But no, it makes me stronger. I'm not going to fall for it. And I know you guys are the same way. You get probably the same, probably worse than I do. But I mean, what are they going to do? Look what they're trying to do to Candace. You know, that's oh my goodness. You know, that goes beyond the pale.
I've been saying it since the day it happened. And as soon as the State Department gave their narrative, I said, I don't care what you think of Charlie Kirk. If you believe a single word that they're saying, you're part of the problem. You're not allowed to. The second it happened, it just became clear to me that we have to pursue this relentlessly because it is an opening to do what I think is necessary to form as many collaborations and a universal coalition. What I truly believe is it is a working class revolution that we're having in this country, but it is centered on this idea that if we do not change, every empire throughout history, it has shown, over military expansion is always the end game. And in our case, if we do not sever this unholy alliance, as Jen says, Israel is us, we are Israel, unless we change that and change it quick, the United States of America as we know it is not going to exist anymore. It is going to be a lot different and not in a good way. So the more we can have these collaborations and these cross-pollinations, if you will. Good friend of the show, somebody I consider a friend, Anthony Aguilar, who I'm sure you're familiar with. We are planning on meeting in Washington, D.C. It's in its early stages right now, but we're planning it for the dawn of the cherry blossom season at the very beginning of the spring. I don't know how often you make it to DC, but if there is any opportunity for you to do so at the end of March, early April, it would be an honor to meet you in person and to have a sort of collaboration, this movement that we're trying to build, where we, the people, rise up against the tyranny of our own government, as Thomas Jefferson once said, might be necessary if the old ways no longer work. We're kind of heading in that direction. And I'd like to think that you would probably agree that that may be necessary at this point.
Yes. If we don't, in some form or fashion, have enough courage, like our forefathers did, to stand up for something they believed in, we're not men and we're not women anymore. So yeah, something's got to change, and absolutely, I'd be glad to go out there with you.
When you see our treatment of our military people when they're serving is horrendous. And then our treatment of military people as veterans is even worse. So when you come out after experiencing what you went through, and you've been now watching for however many decades as other young people go and enlist and participate, it's what is that like for you when you're like, it's like you want to love this country, you want to be like, okay, we're doing the right thing, but how is that when you know what it's really like?
That's a very good question. Thank you. Well, I'll have to go back to my sons and explain that. My sons grew up knowing about the USS Liberty because that's all I ever did. And I told them they wanted to go in the military. And I said, hey, you can do what you want to do. You know about the Liberty. And I said, if you go into any wars, you're going to be fighting for the state of Israel. And my son fought in Afghanistan, my oldest son, and rocked his eyes up, messed his eyes up, his right eye all messed up. He can't hardly see out of it. My other son's a Navy SEAL. And, you know, they know their deal, but the pride of serving America was greater to them than not. So I commend them for that. But the young people today, you better not. I mean, I wouldn't, for the simple reason of, I think we're so close right now with Venezuela and who knows where else President Trump's going to send them. But no, I listen, man. If you do, make sure you can protect yourself somehow. But I mean, to get killed for the Zionist state, and that's all it's been. That's all it's been. All these wars, the first Gulf War, all of them. And oh, by the way, the first Gulf War, we were in the Rose Garden in Washington, D.C. George H. Bush was supposed to meet us in the Rose Garden. We stayed out there 2 hours. There's about 40 of us. The captain was there with his Medal of Honor on, and we waited and waited and waited. And the president came around and in his limo, rode down the window and waved. That's the last time we saw him. Brett Scowcroft and Sununu came out. John Sununu said, "Hey, you guys want to take a tour of the White House? The president's very busy," and they invited us there and snubbed us again. I mean, there's so many things I can tell you, but it's just over and over and over again. Hey, listen, the USS Liberty, I think, is the key. I really do. The key to breaking the Zionist hold, or the Israeli hold, or the Jewish hold on the American people, because it is buried deeper than deep. It's so deep and it's so treacherous. If we can get that, we got it all. I really believe that. I mean, I've been all my life since I started this.
I believe it is all connected. I believe that if the Zio state falls, then so many of the other elements that have basically brought so much of our citizenry to our knees, economically especially, is going to change. I think that it is inevitable that something is going to change, because I think too many people are aware now. And I also believe there's too many crossovers in terms of political ideology, where people are putting differences aside that maybe normally they wouldn't, and saying, no, we must band together as the United States of America. First and foremost, we can get back to disagreements on different elements of political ideology when we actually have a nation that we're in control of again. I think it's pretty clear. I mean, it's always been bad, but now more than ever, when the citizenry is demanding systemic change and the powers that be are still saying, no, we're going to keep doing what we're doing, I just think it's inevitable that something significant is going to happen. And what that is, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe that whatever this incarnation of the U.S.-Israel alliance, it's going to end. And how it ends, I don't think it's going to be pretty. I do believe that Satanyahu Milikowski, as we call him, is the most dangerous world leader. I believe that he holds a lot of the world hostage, because I do believe that he would drop a nuclear weapon if he had to, if Israel was backed into a corner. And how we circumvent this issue, I'm not 100% certain, but I do believe that it starts with banding together as a nation at home, as a united front against this country in which we allow to facilitate their initiatives because we fund them. As you say, Jen, we are Israel, they are us.
They only exist because we allow them to exist.
Yeah. And that has to end. And I'm curious, as we wind down the conversation, what is your lasting impression on various state leaders over the years? And is there anybody that stood out in a positive way, that used their platform, perhaps on Capitol Hill, that has been fighting for your cause, whether in a substantial way or in a not so substantial way? Is there anything positive that you can share regarding whether it's the State Department or anyone in particular that you've encountered over these last 6 decades that was trying to help?
Yes, we've had some great people. Paul Finley, congressman from Illinois, Dare to Speak Out. It's a great book. You should read it if you haven't. And then James Trafficant, he tried to help us. I would talk to him on the phone, and he said, "I'm going to try to get it on the floor for you, Phil." But he knew the deal. And we had Cynthia McKinney. She tried to help. She lasted one term. And Pete McCluskey, California. He's a very decorated Marine too, and a dear friend of the USS Liberty. All of them were. But they got voted out because of their stance against Israel. And I am flabbergasted at all these people, and you know exactly who they are, all taking all this money from AIPAC, lobbying laws to give them more money and more ammo to annihilate, genocide people in Palestine. Is that where our money's supposed to go? No. And I'm sick of it. I mean, the people are sick of it. The world's waking up, and Americans are waking up. I hate to say this. The death and destruction in Gaza, maybe it was God's way of showing us all that this is evil, and you should fight against it. And I just sincerely believe that way, because you can't do that to other human beings. I saw him try to do it to me and saw my shipmates blown apart. But what they're doing to these people, it just it makes me almost cry. Well, I have many times.
Yeah, I cry every day about it. I feel like it's my obligation to bear witness. It's the least I can do regarding what's going on in Palestine. But yeah, it's horrendous. It's about as bad as it gets. And when when you say that this is sort of like the will in order for this to be a public, I agree that that's the case. I think that when October 7th happened, I do think that the Palestinians, Hamas, they knew that whatever the retribution would be would lead to something huge, right? I don't think that this was what they anticipated. And so I feel like it's incumbent on us to make sure that that's how this ends. This ends with the end of the Zionist state now. That's where we are now. It didn't necessarily end with that prior to October 7th. Now that's the only way this ends.
We want to thank you not just for your service, which should always be appreciated, especially those who serve in combat, but for those who served our country admirably and were forgotten, and there are plenty that have been. you survived and you're still with us. And we are not going to let you or any of your band of brothers down that were trying to do right by our country and were led into a kill zone for political and economic purposes. To go to sleep every night and think about that, I don't know what type of rage I would have at the world if I went through the same thing. But just know you are not alone, and you never will be. You are a hero to us, as you are to many others. We highly encourage everyone to pick up your book when it comes out, because that is a book worth reading. And if we do have the opportunity to meet in DC or wherever it may take us down the road, just know that you will always have a friend here at Revolutionary Change, and we will bring justice to the USS Liberty tragedy that will never be forgotten. And we thank you for coming on tonight, Phil. Last thoughts before you go.
Yeah, but thank you both. I mean, come on. I really appreciate it. It's so kind of you. But yeah, just, don't forget my podcast, order the book podcast with philtourney.com, philtourneypodcast.com. And, I got to thank Ray Dowser too at Deep Shallow Dive. He's been helping me a lot. I really appreciate that guy. He's good and he's feisty. And that's what I like about him, a real feisty guy. We all want the truth, but again, it's been my pleasure to be on with you. And yeah, I'd love to meet you guys in person. Be my honor.
Where do you live?
I live in the western slope of Colorado.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you're a mountain person. All right. I'm a mountain girl stuck in a beach town, but not for long.
Well, good luck on the beach as long as you're there. But,
salute you, sir.
Don't do that. You don't get to do that. You don't get to salute when you're not a saluter.
You most certainly can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
thank you both. God bless you, and Godspeed. And let's make our country better.
Let's do that, and have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much.
You as well. God bless.
Bye-bye.
And all of his information, all of the links will be in our description.
Guys. Yes, so please do. Remember, it's funny. I just have to tell you, and I'm going to tell this to the audience. I have a very tough exterior, as you guys know, but I've had to fight back tears pretty hard this entire conversation. Phil is a special person, and sometimes we get guests on that we anticipate will be, great gets. This was many, many months in effort to make this happen.
Yes.
And the conversation is definitely one of the best we've been able to experience since we've started this show.
I mean, how many firsthand witnesses do we really get to things? I mean, really, and certainly not major historical things where you actually get to speak to someone who was there. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yes, it is. And, with rare exception, it seems like we're one of the only populist left channels that has really attempted to communicate with him.
Really?
Yeah.
What I think, was he on like Jimmy's show?
I don't think he was on with him.
He mentioned Jimmy Dore.
He mentioned him, but everybody else was not part of that. And
why? Wouldn't everybody want?
You would think so, but you know what, Jen? The fact of the matter is, we do this because we truly care. And I do believe that there are third rails that certain people simply will not touch for one reason or another. And I think Phil alluded to that quite a bit. He didn't want to say anybody specific in a negative way, because I actually kind of phrased it two ways. I mean, if you want to address any of the negative side, but if you can talk about the positive side. And he's like, well, actually, yeah, I've got some positives. Now, there weren't a lot of them, but at least there were some. And
And interestingly, people that were very fleeting. Notice that they were people that didn't last very long in their elected position, and it might not have only been because of that. I'm sure like people that are going to stand up for that are probably standing up for a lot of other things that the establishment would rather people not talk about.
but a
It's
big
not
shout
just that.
out, yes, and a big shout out to a historically popular hero in many ways in terms of an elected representative, James Traficant, who many people have theories about how he passed away. And I'm not saying that fishy stuff wasn't involved in his demise, but there is no question that he was somebody who pulled no punches. And I mean 0 punches when it came to the state of Israel. Now, before we get into the super chats,
You have something before super chats?
Actually,
I
we'll
do
just-
sometimes feel a little bad when people put super chats in when we have a guest because they want the question, but like we really can't do that. We generally do save our, just so people know in the future, like we will save our super chats for after. We usually do some before. We weren't able to do that this time because he was here and we didn't want to keep him waiting.
Now, when the conversation was like so engaging, and I kind of, once we got to the 45-minute mark, I just realized I'm like, this is a great conversation and we need to end it here. Because it was so tight and in terms of what the message was.
And I agree, Keaton and Russell should have him on.
Yeah. I was blown away by him. I honestly, it's like I said, this is why there's always going to be a part of me that wishes I served, because I'm just telling you how I feel, Jen. Don't tell me how I feel. I'm telling you that I would have been honored to serve with a man like him. And I can't, like I said, it's sad and it hurts, but that's why we're doing what we're doing. We do what we do so that justice can be done. And hopefully we can bring that justice to those who served on the USS Liberty.
Yeah. And by the way, things that are a third rail, that's my speciality.
I would agree.
If you tell me that I'm not supposed to talk about something, oh, I'm focusing on it. I'm going to focus on it every day, all day. I'm going to make it be like my mission in life. It's like, do not tell me what I can and cannot talk about.
That's for damn sure. That's Taurus's for you. If you have enjoyed this conversation, which we hope you have, please consider going over to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. Last count, 91,104 subscribers. You guys are amazing.
Okay, so we are less than 9,000 subs away from the 100K. That's crazy to me.
Teresa, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. We really appreciate it. To the other hero of ours, Anthony Aguilar, 999, Jen and Peter and the whole Revolutionary Change multiverse. Happy Thanksgiving, free Palestine, free America, in order to form a more perfect union.
I agree.
Establish justice.
Ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare.
And what is
the blessings of liberty?
And what is to promote the general welfare? General welfare are things like healthcare. Jim Talib with the $5. Thank you very, very much. Always a pleasure. Claudius with the 59. I forget where NOK is again. It's not North Korea.
I don't think so. That's a little too obvious. I think it is a point to reveal when politicians in power are hiding stuff, even their genitalia. It's about trust and scrutiny. And I saw a lot of people getting on me about this in the chat, that it reveals bigger things. All of that may be true. That's great. Then talk about what those bigger things are. And I also am just generally not that. And it's funny that there's so many people that seem to be harping on this America First thing, but then we're obsessed with the First Lady of France. Like, to
be fair, the whole reason is that
it's Norwegian.
Norwegian, that's cool. And thank you so much, Claudius. And what I would also say is that the reason why I think France has become a lot more of a central focus is because they may not be as overt Zionists compared to, let's say, the U.S. and the U.K., but they are 1,000% in terms of the State Department. They support Israel. They do. And I believe that much as Mrs. Macron is a predator, I believe that those are the two primary concerns. You want to add in the layer of who the person really is underneath the sheets? Fair enough.
You want to know what the real problem is with your predator thing about her, him, her, whoever? I don't give a fuck.
Whatever.
There's a statute of limitations problem.
That's
Point
true.
being, there's nothing that's going to be able to happen. It's been way too many years. So it's like, yeah.
We need to be real. It's not even about being realistic. We need to be effective in our strategy. Shai Tindadan with the 499. Transphobia, Islamophobia, and mass immigration are all distractions from our occupation of the state of Israel. And vice versa. As you say, one is one and one is the other. Jamie, great to see you. Thank you for the $10. Whenever I share with my Jewish brethren that I am in the service, the first and only question that they would ask is, why did you not join the IDF? Holy Lord. What a traitorous inquiry. Never forget the USS Liberty. I knew you had to take a hit for that one, Jen.
Well, I won't do it with a guest. I'm not going to do that with it. Unless it's somebody like, Grumbine or, Jordan.
For those of you who don't know, Jamie, like Jen, comes from a Zionist background, and he was able to break away from it. Power to you, brother. Shaitadan with a $9.99. The U.S. highlights Jewish victimhood median wealth 4 to 500K, while overshadowing Black Americans who built this country facing systemic issues and median wealth of 24K. This is a systematic choice. Couldn't agree with you more.
1,000%. That's interesting that you bring that up, because it is something. I was just watching Sabby earlier. So guys, if you're not watching, most of you probably watch Sabby, but the issue of reparations regarding what happened to, and really, we could talk about descendants of slaves, but really it's way past that. But apparently, I don't know if you saw this, the woman who was the last survivor of the Tulsa massacre, I guess, recently passed away. Okay?
Yeah, she was like 103 or something like that.
No, she was about 113.
Oh,
because,
wow.
Yeah, or 111, maybe 111. I mean, she was up there. And so Sabby did a bit on this, and I can totally understand the frustration that people feel when there's all this focus on victimhood, and not even just amongst the Jewish community playing and crying victim, but even the real victims regarding Palestinians and what's going on right now, and how this justice for descendants of slaves or people who were victims of stuff that our country has done, that were never repaired and never restored and never made whole. And that is a problem across the board. And I do think it's important to point that out. And I think, when you are talking about overshadowing Black Americans who built this country, that is something that we have been talking about on this show since we started this show. And I believe this to be true regarding all peoples that are wronged, that are vulnerable, oppressed peoples. We will never be able to thrive, move forward as people, as humans, until we address what we've done wrong and pay the debts that we owe. And that's in regard to all people that have been violated. So I appreciate you bringing that up. But yes, the Jewish victimhood thing is extremely, extremely annoying.
Tony again with the $5. Greater Israel is the exact same narrative as the 1930s Nazi Lebensraum, living space for the chosen. Agreed, brother. Agreed.
Can we talk about this? No. Talk about that for a second.
Shlomo Goldenschlotz? Yeah, well, with that name, you already got to be somebody who
Black Americans didn't build this country.
Hold on. I need you to just let me talk for a minute.
Okay.
Who built the White House? Who built the Capitol building? Who built the railroads? And it's not just the Blacks. It's the Asians. Slavery is a part of our history, and it still exists today. It's just a different form of it. Do you really think that if Jeff Bezos and the Walton family and Mark Zuckerberg, all of them. You think they wouldn't have us as slaves if they could get away with it? Of course they would. That's why they pay as little as possible. That's why we have an open border policy to bring in anyone who is desperate to work for pennies on the dollar and fuck over the working class in the process.
Black Americans didn't build this country.
Again, you can live in whatever silo you want to live in, but to deny that reality about our history in terms of our infrastructure, come on, man. You wake up. Wake up. Nawal Najir with the 1999. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I remember fleeing Palestine during the 6-day war. I am still afraid of fireworks. Israel just wanted us gone. Well, you're here, my friend.
Another first person account. Like, how can people not realize how current this is, like how recent this is, how current this is? I mean, yeah, the Tulsa massacre was definitely a long time ago and that woman was very old, but like this is still modern history.
Yeah. And I will also say to my brethren in the chat, I still have not seen the movie Gangs of New York, but I think it's probably time that I do. I haven't.
Oh my God. What is wrong with you?
Well, it's considered, besides There Will Be Blood and the role of Daniel Plainview, Bill the Butcher has always been regarded as Daniel Day-Lewis's second best performance after There Will Be Blood. So,
no, My Left Foot.
Well, I haven't seen just the whole concept of what he had to go through to learn. And he learned how to write with his left foot, and he purposely did not use his arms. I mean, yeah, he's the man. He is the best. He's the best.
Gangs in New York was particularly amazingly good. Love that movie.
Because of him.
The truth is all of it. And and people stop crapping on Cameron Diaz. It really didn't matter either way. But it was just a really good movie. It was a
And listen, we love Keanu Reeves, but the biggest miscasting I've ever seen was putting Keanu Reeves in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I didn't see it.
That's an all-time miscast.
Okay, you're way off.
Mark J with the $2. Thank you, Peter and Jen. First-rate commentary. Thank you for always supporting us, Mark. Piano Man with the $10 super sticker. Much appreciated, my friend. Gezin82 with the $5. Thank you so much. Sixth Fleet abandons USS Liberty under fire. DOD approves of their action. Again, as much as we talk about Kissinger and what a bastard and shit stain on humanity that he was, so was McNamara. There's no getting around that.
You know what would be interesting would be to speak with somebody who was on one of the ships that were then pulled away and had to abandon them there. Like, it would be very interesting because I guarantee you there are people that would be more like Phil and not like were not with what was going on. And they were probably threatened too.
It's true.
On their end.
And Gezin, I apologize. Again, we were just so deep in conversation, but I think he kind of addressed the Sixth Fleet situation in terms of how they were abandoned, how they sent. Well, that's what happened. I think the Sixth Fleet was initially supposed to provide cover and help, and McNamara, on behalf of Johnson, put the word out there and said, "No, you're not helping them." Which, like I said, everything on paper leads one to believe that the whole purpose of the USS Liberty was to create another Gulf of Tonkin incident, and Israel didn't sink the ship. That's why they lived to tell their tale. It wouldn't even surprise me if some of them were assassinated after the fact, much like a lot of the witnesses from the JFK assassination were removed. It is what it is, and it is a story that we must never let not be told. Brian Burns, always a pleasure. Thank you for the $2. Thank you for having this USS Liberty vet on tonight. It's our pleasure, man. ATHF Sheikh Zula, thank you. I cannot get over that profile picture still. It's pretty.
Rat face Mickey.
Gifted 5, because he's not a mouse, he's a rat. Gifted 5 Revolutionary Change memberships. Thank you very, very much. Our favorite lady, Teresa, thank you for the $20.
Thank you so much, Teresa.
Such a sweetie. Marvin Vargas with the $2. For Phil, 2 subs, Shadow and Liberty, Amberjack 2. I don't completely follow what you're saying, Marvin.
Question for Phil.
2 submarines
shadowing Liberty. One amberjack. The fact that I'm reading this, by the way, is like crazy to me.
I'm rushing. I'm sorry.
Okay. So amberjack.
Well done, Marvin.
Yeah.
Well done, Jen. Hey, I gave you kudos, Jen.
Thank you. I occasionally get things correct. There were people hating on me so much in the chat tonight. It was a little harsh.
Leave Jen alone. Leave Jen alone.
I'm a moron, according to somebody.
Hey, moron!
I'm a moron.
Jake Zula with another 5 Revolutionary Change memberships. Were you doing that because you like us or because you just want us to talk about the rat face again?
I love the rat face.
It is funny. It is. You cannot deny that that is not funny. Drive by 480 with the $10. Kudos to Phil Tourney, a true American hero. We agree 1000%. Thank you so much. Barbara Childs Coaching, thank you so much for the $9.99. I was there, 13 years old. Dad was a diplomat at the embassy, 1965 to 1969. Evacuated June 1967, returned a month later. Beirut was sad and a different place. I loved Beirut. God bless you, sir.
See? People remember this shit.
Yep. Happy to have you with us, Barbara. Thank you so much. Carson Cruz with the $10. Thank you very much. Attack on USS Liberty, AGTR 5. Never forget. Happy Thanksgiving to you both and to Mr. Tourney and to you as well, my friend. Thank you very much. Shaitadan with his 1-month membership message. If we try to distance ourselves from Israel, they may respond with aggression towards America or escalate tensions in the Middle East. The government might react strongly to any resistance. Stay alert.
When I hear Shaitadan, like when you say that, it makes me think Shaka Khan.
Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like
Marvin with the $2. Zios stole uranium from PA, got nukes, Kennedy axed. Listen, the most logical explanation as to why Kennedy had to be removed is because he was preventing Israel from getting nuclear weapons. And as we saw, as soon as LBJ got in there, war with Vietnam, Israel gets nuclear weapons. And the banks got a lot richer too. Asma, always a pleasure. Thank you for the $4.99. Sorry for the low amount today, guys. Times are slightly lean. Happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for everything you both do. First of all, if times are lean, we do not expect you to give us anything.
No, and we appreciate it so much, and I do know how hard that, like, it's rough right now for people. It's really bad, and I'm actually in the process of putting together. I have like an idea for a story I want to talk about, like what is kind of scary, but I think is going on. But yeah, things are very, very hard, and I never want anybody to compromise themselves or what they need. Like this is, I mean, neither Peter nor I rely on this show to survive and to live. I mean, I love being able to grow this channel, and I love being able to bring other people on and pay people what they're worth. And I love being able to do that. So I'm not saying we don't like it, but it is never worth anybody struggling any harder than they ever have to.
Colin, please help DJ Vargas. How do you super chat?
Yeah, that would be like me. Yeah. DJ Vargas, are you a Gen Xer?
Obviously, any support is tremendously appreciated. Yeah. So, Colin, if you can help out with DJ.
That's like me too, though. I'll be like, Colin, how do I do this?
So we brought this up earlier about how do we help. And for those of you who have been following our channel, and we hope you have, and there you go, DJ. We have our own pack. And as you can see over Jen's.
Okay, see, I'm going to just do this because for me, it's here. But I know that for you guys, it's probably there because I've heard that, which doesn't make any sense to me because to me, there is the corner next to Peter. So
it's like a rotate. It's a weird rotation. We bring this up because obviously you guys have seen the ad by Michael Rechtenwald and ASAPAC. And obviously it's done very well on social media, and we are very happy to collaborate with them. They are focusing on a slate of candidates that are different from ours, but the Revolutionary Change PAC has several shorter ads that are out there. And this is, I believe, the original ad that launched the Revolutionary Change PAC.
at 16 years old in Israel on a high school trip holding an assault rifle, and this is the definition of indoctrination. As I grew older, I witnessed the rise of the Israeli lobby, exerting its influence on our politics and policies. I learned about the injustices happening thousands of miles away in the name of Jewish people, and I can't stay silent in the face of such injustice. I do not feel powerless, I feel hopeful. It is time for us to use our voices to stand in solidarity with the oppressed, to demand accountability from our leaders. I pledge to fight for justice and equity for everyone, here at home and abroad, for there can be no peace without true justice.
Hi, I'm Jen Perelman with the Revolutionary Change PAC. We are done with AIPAC-funded candidates that put foreign interests ahead of the interests of working Americans. You can help us beat AIPAC at their own game. Please donate to Revolutionary Change now and help us fight fire with fire.
We'd like to add, and if you are so inclined, check out the QR code. At least be familiar with our site. The three candidates that we are currently supporting as our slate: number one, Butch Ware, candidate for governor of California on the Green Party ticket. He has been a guest on our channel multiple times. You can check out the archives if you want to get a better idea of his philosophy, his platform.
We love you, Butch. We can't talk to you. You're so far.
The next candidate we are supporting is independent congressional candidate in Washington's 9th congressional district, Shama Sawant, who is running against one of the biggest Zionazis in all of Congress, Adam Smith, who has been there for going into his 4th decade in Congress. He's catching up to Pelosi, trying really hard. And finally, we are supporting Graham Plattner, truly an independent candidate running as a Democrat for the U.S. Senate in the state of Maine. So if you are so inclined, please go check us out. Any contribution is tremendously appreciated.
Can I comment on our candidates briefly?
Sure.
I wanted to say something that distinguishes us from AZAPAC, and we're very supportive of AZAPAC because at the end of the day, I will support anybody who's not bought and paid for over somebody who's bought and paid for, and regardless of political leaning. Like I will take a non-corporate conservative over a corporate bought liberal any day of the week.
Amen.
So this is not to like discredit anything that they're doing. And we definitely like Jose Vega and all that. While we are nonpartisan in terms of our PAC and we prefer to support anything that's against the duopoly, okay, we do tend and will support candidates that are fighting for working people and that believe in helping raise up vulnerable people and get the oppressor off our necks. So even though someone might be anti-Zio and anti-Israel and America first, that is not really all it takes to be one of our candidates. It just isn't. It's a requirement. That's a baseline requirement. But we also are supporting people that are fighting for the least of these in a way that no one else is doing.
Couldn't agree more. And we bring this up because, as you know, the Zio state, despite all that is going on right now, is losing its stranglehold over our political arena. They are. That is why the Zio-Nazi billionaire class, led by the likes of Larry Ellison, feel that they have to buy up all of our media, corporate media specific to begin, but I'm sure that they will find their way. Believe me, guys, the one thing you have to remember, and one of the reasons why I truly believe our channel is growing the way that it's growing, is because people know that we are the genuine article, but they also know that we can't be bought. So once Larry Ellison and his cohorts are all done buying up all of these corporate media channels, let me assure you, they're coming for the independent media channels next. And it is not going to cost a lot of money for them to buy off certain people and watch them change their tune. But if there is a scumbag that is the embodiment of everything I hate about liberal Zionism, it's definitely Bari Weiss.
All of us see the moment that we're in. And all of us see that the choices that it feels like we have sometimes, which is Hasan, Piker, and Tucker Carlson, or Nick Fuentes and, Andrew Tate, the kind of people that are rising in the podcast charts.
First of all, please, for the love of all that is holy, as my podcast partner likes to say, do not, and I mean do not ever compare or put in the same category with Nick Fuentes, Hasan Piker, and Tucker Carlson, Andrew Tate. Please do not do that. That is an insult.
To her, it's the same, though. She has no concept. That's her world. Am I like hallucinating, or for whatever reason, I feel like her, Sarah Hurwitz, and Cheryl are all like morphing into one person. It's all the same person.
Have you ever seen all three of them in the same room together at the same time?
No.
Some people were always laughing at this idea that how could you not tell that Clark Kent was Superman? Well, listen, sometimes you put those glasses on and you really can't tell the difference between the two.
Those don't actually represent our values, and I don't think that they represent the values and the worldview of the vast majority of Americans.
Like I said, they live in an information silo in which they truly do not have any idea what the average person likes, thinks, or wants.
This woman's never been in a room with one of those people, an average person. Who do you know, Bari?
What's even more amazing is that apparently this Jewish leadership conference was only supposed to be like 1 or 2 events. It's gone on for an entire week. That's not going to help you get people to like Israel by continuing to do. I mean, I'm not trying to give them any ideas in terms of what they need to do, but I'm just saying if they think that that's what's going to save them, they couldn't be more wrong.
And so this is an opportunity to speak for the 75%, for the people that are on the center left and the center right that still believe in equality of opportunity, that still believe passionately in the American project, that still believe in all of the things that everyone in this room believes in, which is liberty and freedom and individual responsibility and in the most basic level, the right to know what is actually going on in the world.
Well, do the Palestinians have that right? Because she sounds very interested in freedom and liberty. I find that very interesting. For who? Oh my God, this bitch.
Not the world as propagandists and ideologues imagine it to be, but what's actually going on in the world and in your community, so you can make decisions about where to send your kids to school, about where to live, and about how to vote. That used to just be normal. And the goal of what we're trying to do at CBS is to get back to that normalcy. And I feel incredibly energized and enthusiastic because I think that is where the vast majority of Americans actually are.
Yeah. Yeah, you know where they are.
Keep talking, lady. Just keep talking.
God.
And the more you talk, the faster the Zio state will cease to exist.
Well, the fact that she's in charge of this huge media conglomerate situation is so ridiculous to me. She's so out of her element. She is so unqualified. And those are dying relics of media anyway. And she's just going to be like the last person at its helm before it's like put 6 feet under.
Agreed.
Well,
is that who I think it is?
So that articulation of that set of goals to speak into the lives of the 75%, how are you going to do that? What's your strategy for success?
So I think one of the problems is a lot of people have tried to do centrist news. I know this because I am like the target audience for those things. And the reason that they have all failed is it's like trying to force feed spinach down someone's throat, right? It's felt very like tofu, oatmeal. It's like centrist news is choosing the midpoint between every single topic. It's felt like an absence of charisma and identity. And
she should know.
As nostalgic as people might be for an era in which 30 million Americans every night watch Walter Cronkite and saw him as the voice of truth, and I understand why they're nostalgic for that. We're not going back to that. So how do you build trust in a moment of unbelievably low trust in all of our public institutions, especially the mainstream press? I don't think it's by pretending like we can go back to having a view from nowhere. I think it's about who's in the room, right? I think it's about redrawing the lines of what falls in the 40-yard lines of acceptable debate and acceptable American politics and culture. And I don't mean that in like a censorious gatekeeping way. I mean having people that are clearly identifiably on the center left and on the center right in conversation with each other. And
that would be the same person. That would be like, you know, somebody like maybe like a multiple personality person having a conversation. The person on the center left and the center right is the center, and that's where you are. Like, what is she talking about? This is like Kamala level word salad shit. This is ridiculous.
Well, and she doesn't want to gatekeep, Jen. She just doesn't want you listening to Tucker Carlson, Hasan, Piker, or Nick Fuentes. Just listen to us because we know what the hell's going on.
I don't understand what she's saying. I don't understand what she's saying.
Yeah, and the whole 75% of people are where Bari Weiss is. I don't think 25% are where you are. In fact, I'd be surprised if 5% are where you are.
I don't know what she's talking about. She's not remotely answering the question.
Well, that's the whole thing about word salad. She's got a lot to toss.
So much of this at the Free Press. I was in, where was I? Chicago. Last week, I think I've lost all track of time, where Dana Lash, former spokeswoman from the NRA.
Dana Loesch, but who's counting? Yeah.
Was debating Alan Dershowitz on guns. Now, these are people that have wildly different opinions on the Second Amendment, and yet showing that they can have good faith, very passionate, very charismatic disagreement and still.
So the person who has completely destroyed herself physically can have a passionate conversation with a man who has pederast written all over his 87-year-old face.
Ugh,
if there
God,
ever was
so gross.
one. But they are passionate about what they believe in, Jen. So that is exactly what I could, you know, honestly, when I think of two people that I needed to listen to debate an issue like the Second Amendment, the first two people I thought of were Dana Loesch, the biggest paid whore for the NRA, and the biggest paid shill for the Zio state in Dershowitz. You figured it out, Bari. Why the hell isn't everybody watching your show? I just don't know.
And who she's sitting next to is also just so entertaining.
Well, the reason, the real reason that they don't like us is they just hate Jews. They just hate Jews. That's the reason. That's why they don't like us. Totally understood.
Like each other at the end of the day, we think it's important. And so for me, it's always about the curation, like who's in the room, how are you showing centrist news, not as the absence of disagreement and the absence of charisma, but explicitly charismatic and disagreeable, and yet doing it in good faith. And the other way you do it is, you know, by being really honest with your audience. Like
now that's just funny.
Lord, give me the strength to make it through Thanksgiving without thinking about this bullshit.
Oh, did you say Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Did you say Thanksgiving?
Listen, I totally said thankful for all of you, but you are you really have to stop doing that. That is you're a really terrible person.
Oh, that pleases me. You know, you just only have to say his name 3 times and then things happen. Like, you know, click your heels together.
Oh, Ben Shapiro?
Yes. That's there it is. You said it once.
Said it twice. Third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm.
Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro.
Say it.
Ben Shapiro.
Oh no!
Oh, I'll teach you.
It never gets old.
No.
It never gets old. Oh my God, that's so fun.
Couldn't happen to a better person. Fortunately, he's been.
Yeah, guys. So if somebody says Ben's name 3 times, that's what happens. Like Beetlejuice.
Oh, what if you say Ben Shitpiro or
it still counts. It counts.
What about Lil Ben Shitpiro?
It all counts. If somebody intimates the thought of Ben 3 times, It's coming out. Can't help it. He's so ridiculous.
For the final time this evening, we have a few more super chats. That punching thing has come out. Yeah, you damn right it is. He probably has nightmares about it. Donna Vorse, thank you so much for the $10. Here's some fire. Appreciate you. I'm glad
Thank
that-
you, Donna.
DJ Vargas, thank you for contributing with the $1.99. You know of Rachel Corey that was killed by the age. Of course we do. Absolutely.
Not only do we know of Rachel Corey, but Rachel Corey's cousin and her husband are the people that are working to create the World Economic Federation, which is one of our sponsors, our sponsor. So we are very familiar with Rachel Corey.
David, a pleasure. And hopefully Zoran will deliver something positive to the city of New York, where you are. Thank you for the $10. We are thankful for what revolutionary change has brought us throughout the year. You're good people fighting for justice. To Jen, Peter, Rachel, and Colin, and Ben, happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, is Ben even watch? Does Ben even watch? Ben, do you even watch us anymore? I don't even know that Ben realizes how much we've grown. He's still like,
And Teresa, who really, really loves us, and we love her too. Thank you so much for the $10.
Thank you, Teresa.
And of course, our good friend in Scotland.
I love me the Scotsman.
Patman with the £7. Peter, you have had a haircut. Yes, I have. Thank you for noticing.
Wait, it's pounds.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, why was I thinking Ireland? Never mind. Sorry, Scotsman.
Scotsman. He's a Scotsman.
I know.
You guys are all great. And, well, I don't know. That sounds kind of dangerous. Somebody who has fetish and then Peter looking like a snack tonight. That could mean a whole bunch of things. That could mean that I am what's on the menu. And I
think that's exactly what that means.
I'm not into spirit cooking. I've never seen it. I've never been around it. Don't want to know. Not my jam. But what I am thankful for is that, as I've mentioned before, it's been a tough several months. And this channel has allowed me sometimes.
I will say on Peter's behalf, he is extremely well-kept, fastidious, hygienically proper.
Well, it's nice of you to say something positive.
No, I'm saying that because this is someone who I've sat next to in this room for another repeatedly. Yeah. Peter is well properly cared for.
One thing, gentlemen, remember when you're around women, you have to pass the smell test. If you don't pass,
he might have gross feet. I don't know because he never takes his shoes off. He's sort of Costanza.
My feet are fine.
His feet are fine. But yeah, stinky feet is a major problem.
Yeah.
That is a major, disgusting, gnarly feet.
Make sure you scrub under the foot, not just on top of the foot.
All of it. And Peter is well kept.
I am thankful for all of you that have stuck with us since the beginning. Those of you that have found us over the course of the last few years. And then obviously a lot of you that have found us over the past few months. Some of you agree with us. Some of you bash us. Some of you don't agree with us, but appreciate what we're trying to do. And for each and every one of you, we do say thank you. And that is what giving thanks is supposed to be. Thanksgiving has always been one of my favorite holidays, not just because it's food and football, but it's one of those occasions where I do get to see my father. Don't see him that often.
That's not why. Let's be real. Who are you there to see?
I'm there to see Reese. She's not here right now. I can't bring her on. But I love her pieces.
Yeah.
No, Reese's Pieces. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
Jen, what are you thankful for?
Thanksgiving is kind of bittersweet for me. I grew up always loving Thanksgiving because first of all, I love Thanksgiving food, and I hosted for many years. This year, it's just Jason, me, and my little. It's just the three of us. So and I don't eat meat, so it's kind of a wash. But I have a lot of mixed feelings about it because the mythology and the lore is very hard for me to sort of put out there when what I feel like is the biggest part of who I am is what we do here. So then it's like, okay, how do I reconcile that with the fictional mythology of Thanksgiving? Right. And so that is now sort of something that I have going through my head these days. But
The
I'm
best thing, yeah.
a lot of things. I'm thankful for this platform. I'm thankful for the people that get me, and those people know who they are. There's very few. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for, my boys.
I think Thanksgiving, probably more than any other holiday, much more so than the 4th of July, especially, I would say. Thanksgiving has become a holiday that I think most people look at as one that we made into our own. We made it a truly American tradition. And it's unfortunate that in this capitalist culture that we live in, that we have to pick specific days out of the year to care about the collective. Oh, I'm a Giants fan, all right.
Oh, you've got some fighting words coming up now. This is what I like. I saw that and I'm like, I'm sorry. I know you were being sincere, but I could not let that go.
Fair enough. To get back to what I was saying, Thanksgiving is one of the days out of the year where we genuinely, like Christmas, we think about others. We think about how we can give back. And the truth is, that's nice, but it's not fully embedded into our culture. John Candy is one of my favorite actors, and perhaps his and John Hughes's best movie is what I consider to be the best Thanksgiving movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Ironically, John Candy was Canadian and celebrated Thanksgiving a month before us, but I digress.
Hey. But the story of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is actually a very sad story.
I love that movie, by the way. I love that movie.
And when you hear him say, "I don't have a home," that's one of the saddest lines in the history of cinema. And John was a very special actor. He truly cared about people. And maybe it's because he was Canadian that he had a different sense of the collective in terms of caring about his fellow citizen that the average American simply doesn't have. And not because I don't think the average American doesn't care about each other. I think they care about each other to the extent that they can focus on it on a day like Thanksgiving, on a day like Christmas. You remove that element. And that's also why I love Bill Murray's Scrooged. I love his speech at the end of the movie, which was completely improvised. That's also Bill Murray's amazing talent. But when he says, Christmas is just once a year and it's a fraud. It's not. It doesn't have to be. But years later, we still realize why so much of the problems that we have in this broken system is because we still haven't come to terms with the fact that Thanksgiving and Christmas can be every day. If we truly were the United States of America and we were able to look past certain differences, we would be able to share in what is still, in my opinion, the greatest country in the world as it was intended to be. But obviously it's not. It's the furthest thing from it. And we haven't collectively recognized yet that that is the only way that it's ever going to happen. So for those that will celebrate tomorrow, with family or not, and I've been there before where I've been alone on Thanksgiving and it's not fun. I would say I can speak on your behalf on this point.
I don't know. Let's see. Don't make me give my disclaimer that the opinions and positions of Peter Hager do not necessarily reflect that of Jen Perelman or the show. Okay, continue.
We are very thankful that we can provide an outlet for many of you to come and be friends and family with us. And that includes everyone who's in the chat, those who will see this stream. I'm deeply, deeply moved by Mr. Tourney's story. I'm going to be thinking about it a lot after tonight. And
I'm enraged.
Yeah.
It's like it's interesting. You got kind of maudlin. I feel nothing but rage.
Oh yeah, no, I feel rage, but I also I realize that this is a person who is proud to be an American, but he
And
doesn't.
still, I cannot believe about his kids.
But he does not see himself as a superior because of that fact. He sees himself as a very blessed person because he's an American. And I think it just all comes together. I think we, in spite of every bad thing that is going on in this country today and will continue to go on, we should be very thankful that we have each other to use this platform to communicate and
It's
build
building a revolution.
and
We're
build
building
that solidarity that is necessary to make a revolution possible.
We're working
And
on it.
yeah, and it doesn't have to be a bloody revolution. Remember, Gandhi broke the British Empire without firing a shot. So
Yeah, I don't think they had the level of firepower that we have here. Also, I would say that there's a difference between revolution and war. You know,
yes,
we tend to look at revolution as, oh, the Revolutionary War. Well, no, the revolution started long before the war. The revolution happened up until that point. The war is the final result. But yeah, I don't unfortunately see any way out of this that's nonviolent. I just don't. And again, I am unarmed for now. But I mean, like, I am not
Same.
somebody that seeks that in any way, shape, or form. I don't start with people. That's not my thing. I don't raise hands to people, but I just do not see any way around this being exceptionally violent. There's no way.
Be thankful that we can all share in this conversation for now, because Lord knows at any given moment, they can rip the rug from under us. And
Rumble.
Lord knows, with the conversation we had this evening, we just made a shitload of more enemies. So,
I don't think so. I think it's the same people. I think they were you might be making the same people even angrier.
sure. Now we don't know what lengths they'll go to, but we'll soon find out.
Go to
Smash
Rumble,
that,
people.
for sure. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. We love you all. We appreciate you all. Have a happy Thanksgiving and
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
damn it, Jen.
Free Palestine.
I'll see you Saturday. Good night, guys.